Hi, Jerry Jenkins here, talking about all things writing. One of the most dreaded challenges you and I face, writer's block. You know well the frustration. You have a story, a message you care deeply about, but you can't produce a single word. You stare at a blank screen as that precious time you painfully carved out of your busy schedule ticks away. You grow more and more agitated the longer you feel blocked, and eventually you despair of ever reaching the masses like you hoped. Well, I've discovered how to crush writer's block, and my nearly 200 published books prove it. Through my blog at jerryjenkins.com and my private coaching community, the Jerry Jenkins Writers Guild, I help writers like you learn to craft compelling stories. Today I'll reveal my secret to crushing writer's block. But before I do, I want you to know of a special bonus I have for you at the end of this video. It'll make you a more productive writer, so be sure to stay with me to the end to get that free bonus. So what's my secret to overcoming writer's block? I treat it as the myth it is. Now, I know what you're thinking. If it's a myth, why am I suffering from it right now? Believe me, I know what you're going through. Like anyone else, I face those days when I'd rather do anything but put words on the page. But let's think this through. If writer's block were real, why would it affect only writers? Imagine calling your boss and saying, "I can't come into work today. I have worker's block." You'd be laughed off the phone and you might be told never to come in again. No other profession accommodates such an excuse to quit working, so we writers shouldn't either. If writing is just a hobby to you, a diversion, something you can take or leave, it shouldn't surprise you that you find ways to avoid it when it's hard. What we call writer's block is really a cover for fear. Fear you're not good enough. Fear you don't know enough. Fear of the competition. Fear of rejection. Do you have big dreams and good intentions but just can't get past your fear? Would you believe that goes for me too? Yes, even now, every time I begin a new book. Let's be honest, writing is hard. The competition is vast and the odds are long. And most writing coaches will try to talk you through all kinds of self-affirmation to overcome your fear. Not me. I stumbled upon an entirely different approach to writer's fear. I acknowledge that it's legitimate. I should be afraid because I'm not good enough. My fear is justified because the competition is so vast and talented. So rather than try to overcome my fear, I embrace it. Rather than let it overwhelm me and keep me from writing, I acknowledge the truth of what I'm afraid of and let it humble me. That humility motivates me to work hard and do my best writing every time. It's hard work that leads to success. Fear doesn't have to paralyze us. It can motivate us to do our best. Dean Koontz, who has sold more than 450 million books, says the best writing is born of humility. The great stuff comes to life in those agonizing and exhilarating moments when writers become acutely aware of the limitations of their skills, for it is then that they strain the hardest to make use of the imperfect tools with which they must work. Now, I've never been motivated by great amounts of money, not that I have anything against that, but that quote comes from a man worth $145 million earned solely from his writing. How humble would you be if writing had netted you that kind of money? Yet humility is the attitude Dean Koontz takes to the keyboard every day. If you're afraid, fear the limitations of your skills. Then strain the hardest to make use of those imperfect tools with which you must work. That's how to turn fear into humility, humility into motivation, motivation into hard work, and hard work into success. Fear can be a great motivator. Okay, now let's talk about good old-fashioned procrastination, another malady that masquerades as writer's block. Everywhere I teach, budding writers admit that procrastination threatens to kill their dream. When I tell them they're talking to the king of procrastinators, their looks alone call me a liar. But it's true. Most writers are masters at putting off writing. I could regale you for half a day with the meaningless rituals I perform before I can start. But I overcame procrastination the way I overcame fear. I've embraced it after years of losing sleep over it and resolving to beat it. procrastination still plagued me. Finally, I came to see it not only as inevitable, but also as a necessary part of the process. So I not only embrace it, but I also schedule it right into my calendar. When I do get back to my keyboard, I find that my subconscious has been working on my story, and I'm often surprised at what I produce. By accepting and accommodating procrastination, I can both indulge in it and make my deadlines. Here's how. I determine how many pages I need to write per day to make my deadline, whether self-imposed or publisher-imposed. I also insert right into my calendar occasional procrastination or emergency non-writing days. Now that said, I can't always accurately predict how many such days I need, which means I sometimes have to go back in and increase the number of pages I need to write per day to still hit my deadline. But here's the key. I keep my deadline sacred by never letting my pages per day figure get out of hand. It's one thing to go from 5 or 6 pages a day to 7 or 8. But if I procrastinate to where now I have to finish 2 or 3 times that number of pages per day to make my deadline, that's beyond my capacity. Even if I could do it, it wouldn't be my best work, and it would show. And I never want to allow that. So keep your deadline sacred by keeping your number of pages per day realistic and manageable. And you can even accommodate and benefit from procrastination. All right, let's talk about perfectionism, another contributor to writer's block. Many creatives, especially writers, struggle with perfectionism, which can prove to be an enemy of productivity. Unless we wrestle it into its proper place in the writing process, it can lead to paralyzing frustration. As a perfectionist myself, I'm tempted to tinker with my work while I'm writing until I'm happy with every word, but that so slows me that I can spend hours on just a few paragraphs, and that's no way to get a book written. So how do I get past that? I keep my writing wholly separate from my revising. Perfectionism, within reason, of course, isn't all bad. In the end, as I've said, I want to be happy with every word before I submit my writing to a publisher. Now, I know it won't really be perfect, even after the publishing house's editors and proofreaders have done their work on it, but I strive to make it the absolute best it can be before they see it. That's when my perfectionist tendencies serve me best. During the writing of my first draft, I take off my perfectionist cap and suppress my internal editor, that critic who wants to fine-tune every word and phrase as I go. I have to constantly remind myself that now is not the time for perfectionism. Now is the time for productivity, getting my thoughts down and roughly in order. I know I'm being redundant, injecting cliches, making punctuation and spelling and even logic errors. But my goal during that stage is not perfection, but production. I need words on the page, something to work with. That's counterintuitive to us perfectionists. We spot an error, we want to fix it. Resist the urge. During the revision stage, you can put that perfectionist cap back on and welcome that inner critic back to the table. Force yourself to keep these tasks separate until it becomes second nature and watch your production soar. All right, finally, another writer's block imposter is simple lack of concentration. The real culprit? Distractions. You sit to write with the best intentions and something intrudes on your concentration. It may be a loved one, a roommate, social media, a game on your phone, but soon you're lured from your writing. There seem to be more distractions than ever these days. So what's the solution? Sorry, there are no shortcuts. The question is, how badly do you want to succeed at writing? Because it requires concentrated effort. You must block distractions. How? By making writing an absolute priority and establishing 2 inviolable rules to safeguard your work time. First, establish a strict writing schedule. This is not a hobby, a diversion, something you're playing at. To succeed, you have to give it your all. So tell anyone who needs to know that aside from an emergency, you're not available. Let's face it, no one will take this as seriously as you do. They'll assume you can write any time, so why can't you break for a chat or to run an errand or to fulfill a favor? Learn to say no. During the time you've set aside for writing, you're working and unavailable. Second, initiate a media fast while you're writing. That means no radio, no TV, no email, no social media. When the writing gets tough and we should be laser focused to smash through, it's way too easy to take a break and find something else to occupy us. At our fingertips are our email account, Facebook, Twitter, online shopping, and clickbait stories to derail us. When we should be staying at the task and working through solutions, we're checking out the 10 ugliest actors of all time or 15 sea creatures so ugly you won't believe they exist. Before you know it, your writing time has evaporated and you've accomplished nothing. So, resolve to abstain from social media during your writing sessions. And if you need help to follow through on that, Google Freedom app or one of the many other programs that lets you turn off social media for as long as you need to. That's how I defeated writer's block once and for all, and you can too. Stand up to it the way you would stand up to a bully, and you'll find it's all bluster and myth. Embrace your fear and let it humble you to where you do your best work. Then watch your productivity soar. Now, if you found this video useful, please like it, comment on it, and share it. You can also subscribe to my channel by hitting the button below for more of my in-depth writer training. Now, here's the bonus I promised for staying with me to the end. Click the link on the screen for instant access to my ultimate guide to maximizing your writing time. It shows you how to block out distractions and overcome writer's block so you can get more words on the page. I wish you all the best with your writing, and I'll see you next time.